Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The Miami sun beat down fiercely that Saturday afternoon, making every drop of water in the Whitman Villa's pool sparkle like diamonds. The scent of tropical flowers and the murmur of fountains created an atmosphere of almost surreal luxury. The vast and elegant property was the very symbol of wealth and power in the neighborhood. Emily Whitman, heiress to a family renowned for its vast fortune and influence, was relaxing on a sun lounger, sipping a cocktail. Her tanned skin glistened in the sunlight, and she gazed contentedly at the reflection of her perfect estate in the clear water. Nothing could disturb her tranquility, or so she thought. Suddenly, she noticed movement in the pool. A relaxed male figure floated in the middle of the water, as if he had always belonged there. Emily frowned. She didn't recognize this man, and her mind immediately filled with suspicion and anger. "What's he doing here?" she murmured to herself. "He has no right." Without thinking, she stood up, her glass still in her hand, and walked towards the pool. Her heart pounding, she tried to assert her authority. "Hey! Get out of my pool." The man slowly turned his head towards her, a calm smile on his face. His brown eyes expressed a serenity that contrasted strangely with Emily's agitation. "Yours?" he asked, in a calm but firm voice. "I think you're mistaken." Emily froze. Every word this man spoke seemed to challenge her certainty. The entire neighborhood seemed to hold its breath, curious neighbors peering from behind hedges and gilded fences. Doubt crept into her mind. What if, after all, she wasn't the true mistress of this pool? At that precise moment, what seemed to be a simple misunderstanding was about to turn into a lesson in humility and truth that no one in the neighborhood would soon forget. Emily Whitman felt her blood run cold. The man in her pool, whom she believed to be an intruder, stood there, imperturbable, and looked straight into her eyes with quiet confidence. "Yours?" he repeated calmly. "I think you're mistaken." Emily clenched her fists, red with anger and embarrassment. She had always gotten her way, and no one dared to stand up to her. "Not here. Not in on pool." "Get out immediately," she shouted, trying to hide her confusion. "I'm telling you, you have no business being here." The man burst into a soft, light laugh, almost amused, but not mocking. He gestured towards the crystal-clear water. "I think you're the one who's mistaken. This pool is mine." Emily took a step back in disbelief. How could he dare say such a thing? She looked around, hoping to see a neighbor or a member of staff confirm she was right. But everyone remained silent, curious and surprised by the scene unfolding before their eyes. "You're joking," she exclaimed, breathless. "My family has owned this villa for generations." The man slowly shook his head and stepped elegantly out of the water. Water dripping from his perfectly relaxed body, he approached Emily and took a tablet from his pocket. With a practiced gesture, he scrolled through documents, deeds, maintenance invoices, family photos dating back several years. Everything proved, irrefutably, that he was the true owner of the villa and the pool. Emily felt her world crumble. The words she had uttered arrogantly now seemed ridiculous. Her neighbors, behind hedges and windows, held their breath, some of them wryly smiling. I don't understand," Emily murmured, unable to look away from the screen. "Sometimes," the man replied gently, "we assume we know the truth about something simply because we are used to it or have a reputation for it. But the truth is always there, far beyond appearances." Emily lowered her eyes, overcome with embarrassment. She had believed that wealth and power were enough to impose her will. Today, she was learning how wrong she had been. At that precise moment, the calm of the pool seemed to freeze. Every drop of water shimmered as if waiting for the story to take a decisive turn. Emily understood that this simple moment, which she had initially taken as an affront, would transform into a lesson she would never forget. Silence fell over the Whitman villa. The neighbors, curious and captivated by the scene, couldn't tear their eyes away from the man in the pool. Emily, still flushed with shame, felt her world crumble under the weight of the truth. The man, perfectly calm, continued to show the evidence on his tablet. Every document, every invoice, every photo seemed to pin Emily to the spot. There were clear images of him as a child playing in the pool, of family gatherings on the terrace, of repairs and renovations he had personally overseen. All of this, stammered Emily, unable to find a word. It's impossible. It's all true, the man replied calmly. I've lived here for over 20 years. This pool, this house, they're mine. Emily stepped back, a mixture of disbelief and panic on her face. The neighbors began to murmur among themselves, some stifling laughter, others nodding their heads in respect for the man who had just reminded everyone that truth transcends appearances. But, how come I? She stopped, unable to finish her sentence. My family was holding the charity gala here this weekend. I thought. Perception is not reality, the man interrupted calmly. Many confuse wealth with immediate rights, but the truth is much simpler. Facts are what they are. Emily felt her pride crumble. Every word she had uttered arrogantly, every authoritative gesture, turned against her. Her cheeks burned as the man smiled, neither mocking nor cruel, simply dignified and serene. Since you're here, he said finally, closing the tablet, I suggest you stay. The pool is large, and there's enough room for everyone. The neighbors burst into applause, some chuckling softly at the irony of the situation. Emily remained frozen, torn between humiliation and forced gratitude. The man had transformed what she had believed to be an affront into an unexpected act of generosity. She realized at that moment that the lesson went far beyond the swimming pool. Humility and respect for facts always surpass pretension and pride. And as the man dove back into the water, calm and in control of the situation, Emily understood that she had just experienced a moment she would never forget, a revelation that would mark her life and behavior forever. The next morning, the neighborhood was abuzz. News of the pool incident had spread like wildfire. Neighbors were still discussing the scene. Emily Whitman, the heiress known for her arrogance, humiliated by a calm and self-assured man. Rumors were flying, and some local journalists had even been alerted. Emily, still shaken by the events, stood in the hall of her villa, unable to look the man in the eye without feeling deeply uncomfortable. The man, still serene, calmly prepared a coffee, as if none of it mattered. Suddenly, a neighbor, more curious than the others, approached the fence. Wait! He shouted. Isn't it the real owner who organizes the charity foundation every year? Emily jumped. The man nodded, and in an unexpected gesture, he invited Emily to approach the pool. Since you're already here, why not stay and enjoy the party with us? He said with a smile. Emily, red with confusion and shame, hesitated. But just as she was about to refuse, the neighbors burst into applause. Some journalists' cameras captured the moment when the wealthy heiress, who had dared to falsely claim to be the owner of the pool, humbly accepted the invitation of the true owner. You see, the man said calmly to Emily, sometimes the most important lessons come from the moments when we think we're in control. But the truth always has the last word. Emily lowered her eyes, unable to reply. The murmurs turned into friendly laughter and silent congratulations for the man, a symbol of humility and dignity. The entire neighborhood seemed to understand that this moment was not only a humiliation for Emily, but a lesson for everyone. Respect and truth triumph over arrogance and presumption. A few days later, the local newspapers ran headlines. The wealthy heiress humiliated by the true owner of her villa, a lesson in humility in Miami. The man, always calm and discreet, became a symbol of dignity in the neighborhood, admired for his patience and generosity. Emily, for her part, learned to look at the world with a little more caution and much less presumption. And as the sun set over the villa and its sparkling pool, everyone understood that true wealth lay not in possession, but in wisdom and dignity. A few days after the incident, the Whitman villa had become the focus of attention in the neighborhood. Neighbors and journalists continued to comment on the pool scene. But that Saturday, an even bigger surprise awaited Emily and the entire community. The man, the actual owner, had organized an event in his garden and around the pool. It wasn't an extravagant gala or a display of wealth, but a simple and elegant gathering, where all the residents of the neighborhood were invited to enjoy the day. Emily arrived, still slightly blushing with embarrassment but curious. To her surprise, she discovered that the man had transformed the pool into a shared space, games for children, relaxation areas for adults, and a small stage where a local musician was playing live jazz. The neighbors applauded warmly, and some came to shake Emily's hand with a sympathetic smile. The man approached her calmly. "I wanted you to see that true greatness is not measured by possession, but by the ability to share and respect others." Emily, moved and humble, nodded. "I understand," she murmured. "I never realized." "Nobody learns without making mistakes sometimes," he replied, smiling. "It's not the mistake that counts, but what you do with it." At that moment, the entire neighborhood erupted in applause as a drone gently descended, projecting the video of the pool incident onto a giant screen. Laughter and astonishment mingled with the applause for the man, now seen as a model of patience, justice, and dignity. Emily finally understood that this apparent humiliation had been a life lesson. Her pride had been shaken, but she had learned something invaluable: wealth and power are temporary, but dignity and respect leave a lasting mark. The day ended with a blazing sunset, laughter, music, and an atmosphere of unexpected camaraderie. Emily, now humble and grateful, stood beside the man, admiring not the pool or the villa, but true human greatness. And in the hearts of all those present that day, a lesson remained forever etched: true power lies in patience, justice, and the ability to transform a mistake into an opportunity for wisdom and respect.